Hello everyone, welcome to the 3D and motion design show. I am Bruna, and I just wanted to start out by saying it's such a huge honor for me to be here today and to give you guys this presentation, because I've been a huge fan of the show for a while now, and it has had like this huge impact in me and on my work. It was really super useful, and to be here today is just like super exciting to me. So just gonna go ahead and introduce myself to you. So as I said, my name is Bruna. I am originally from Brazil, but now I live in Berlin, Germany, where I recently graduated communication design. So now I am a communication designer and 3D artist as well. I would say my 3D artist journey started back in university about 2 years ago, when I attended this course that was about 3D. It was like an optional course, and there I discovered Cinema 4D, and I basically like instantly fell in love. Something inside me like clicked, and I knew I really enjoyed that for some reason. So oddly enough, I didn't instantly pursue 3D, and I didn't start learning more until 1.5 years ago. That's when I started doing daily renders. That's when basically my passion for 3D really got started, and since then I have never stopped. So yeah, I'll talk more about my daily renders a bit later on the presentation. I don't do them anymore, but I did 400 of them, and they were for sure like a big step for me. I learned so much, so I'm gonna share some insights a bit later on about that. So yeah, now I just wanted to show you guys some of my work that I recently have been doing, and I'll talk a little bit more about in depth about what I like to do, and then later on I'll show you guys some insights on my workflow and show you some tips that maybe can be useful for you too, if you're starting out, or maybe if you haven't tried these specific things before on cinema. Yeah, so let me go ahead and show you guys some of my work. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys now some of my most recent work I've been doing. Starting out by this series here. It's called Weather Goddesses, and each goddess represents a different weather phenomenon. So we have Thunder Goddess, we have Solar Goddess, and Rain Goddess. And in this series, I started developing this sort of a backstory to my renders. So for each character, I think about like a story for them, and it really helps me portray the emotions that I want to portray in the render. I think the series also represents a lot of my work recently, which has been revolving around empowering women in one form or the other. So I love creating this scenes, like beautiful nature scenes with women as the main focus. And through that, I love to make them look very powerful, but also vulnerable. So that's what I've been like channeling into my work lately. Here's another example. This one has a more pastel vibe, which I really enjoy as well. But yeah, also, again, nature, and I love the crystals a lot. And also the hair has been something it's like my favorite thing to do basically now. I always do the hair in Cinema 4D, and I'm also gonna show you guys how to make similar hair to this in today. Here's another example. Again, more nature. I love colorful scenes as well. Color plays a big part into my work. And in the one on the right now, you can see the clothing. I started making them in Marvelous Designer as well. So I have been slowly incorporating that into my work, which is really fun. Here are some other examples. Also, the one on the right is a collaboration with Cassie's, great artist, by the way. Again, here more nature scenes. Also, again, the glowy aesthetic and the long hair is also present, which I really enjoy. Yeah, here we don't have the hair, but I still have the nature elements and the glowy aesthetic. Here also, this was just me learning a little bit about subsurface scattering. So that was that about. This one is more like abstract, of course, which is not usually what I have been doing, but sometimes I like to play with just lights and shapes. And this is one of my most recent abstract experimentations. So I have also this video here I'll play for you. Yeah, so this one also has like all my favorite things, I'd say, which is like hair, nature, and the lighting, like the glowy lighting. Yeah, it really like encompasses what my creations have been about lately, which is just like empowering different women and portraying women through like a female lens, if that makes sense. Which I find very rare in this space for some reason. And I love to express my femininity as well, yeah, through my work. But I think that's it. Thank you, and now we will move on to the next part of the presentation. Okay, so the first part of this presentation is going to be about posing the character. So we're gonna go ahead and pose a similar character to this one in Daz Studio. I know the presentation is mostly about Cinema 4D, but since most of my renders nowadays have a character in them, I'm gonna show you guys how I usually pose them, and then we're gonna import the pose into Cinema 4D, and then we're gonna try and do a similar hair to this one. So I'm gonna show you guys my workflow when it comes to hair. And then we're gonna move on to the next part. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and get started. The pose is gonna be done on Daz Studio, this software. It's a free software where you can like pose characters and do everything to do with yeah, characters, or you have like cool clothing and hair here as well. But I personally use it just to pose the basic character like that, and to import that into Cinema, and then I continue my workflow on Cinema or other software. So here's like, when you open the program, you can load in like a female or male figure, and this is basically similar to what you get there. I just went ahead and put some clothing on the model, you know, but other than that, it's pretty similar to what you get. So here you have some tabs. Your menu might look a bit different than mine, but there's basically a tab where you can like change the character shape. So like if you go into like shaping, there's here a possibility to make the model, I don't know, heavier or like voluptuous. There are so many morphs. It's called morphs. You just like basically slide this to one side or the other, and then you see your character like changing. So you might have some different morphs than I have on the beginning, but they're still very helpful. So they give your character more muscle or less muscle, and this kind of stuff. But yeah, they are very much useful. So yeah, with that you can really customize your character and make it the way that you want it to look without needing to like model it yourself, or you know, it's a very quick and easy way to make it. You can change like things like the eyes, for example. So, or the neck size, like there's morphs for everything. You just have to like download some extra ones. Like these are probably not included in the standard version, but you still have plenty of useful stuff you can get for free. But yeah, so how do we like pose the model? Because that's what we're here to do. So you can basically just like click anywhere in the character and drag it, and then you like that bone will move as you do it. So our pose, the reference we're gonna use is this pose here. So she's like kind of floating in the air, you know, with the hand kind of his hand's like moving to the side. We don't need to be very precise. It's just like I'm gonna show you guys how I went about creating this one. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start posing. I'll probably grab her leg first and just move it up like she's floating like that. Move this down. And again, posing, we cannot really come up with the exact same pose, but that's okay. It's supposed to be very organic, so and not perfect. Now, once I have this main pose, you know, like the rough pose done, we can go ahead and open this other tab that I recently discovered, which is on the pose tag. It's called power pose. So the way the power pose works is like you see this character here, and you can click here, and then it moves the joint on the character. So it's very easy to like move around and pose the character in this way. First, it might be a bit like weird to work on, but it is pretty helpful once you get the hang of it. You can get this tab by coming onto Window, and then you go to this one here and click Power Pose, and then you should have this kind of menu here. So I kind of mix between just like clicking and dragging and the power pose too. For some specific areas of the body, I feel like one is better than the other, but it's just down to like personal preference, basically. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and like rotate her because she's like floating. So maybe something like this. Not sure. Yeah, so if you select the model, like if you don't see it anymore, just go ahead and click anywhere on the model, select it here. Here you can see all the hierarchy, like the pelvis, abdomen, but we don't really need to worry about that. We just like need to click somewhere in the body so it shows up. So here you can move both legs at the same time. So I'd say her hand needs to like position kind of outside, not outside, but like turning outwards, if that's even a word. Apologies for my poor English. Something like this. Maybe we rotate the neck as well, so she's like looking in the camera, like looking up, like that. Oops. If you just do a mistake like that, or you move something you don't want to move, you just like Ctrl Z and then goes back one step. I feel like we're getting somewhere. Maybe we do need to rotate her a little bit more, so just rotate the whole thing. Like that, maybe? No, I actually don't like this. Let's just go back. Also, if we need to rotate the whole figure, we can do that in Cinema 4D once it opens. So that's also possible. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of see the pose one last time. Okay. So yeah, her legs are a bit downwards like that. So her posture is a bit better. And this is getting somewhere. Yeah. This feels good. It's like she's floating. I like it. So once we're like happy with the pose, again, we can customize this further if we want. But I think for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just gonna go ahead and export this so we can have this model in Cinema 4D. And I'm just gonna go ahead and click File and Export. Then we just save this as, I don't know, whatever name you want. I'm gonna save as an OBJ here, but you can save in other formats. I find OBJs are better for static poses, so if you're not working on an animation, I usually use OBJ because I feel like the quality of the model is better. And it's just my personal experience. Maybe you guys have other preferences, but that's what I found works best for me. So just export it like that. And now we're gonna import this into Cinema 4D. Okay, so I just went ahead and imported the model we created in that studio into Cinema 4D. And I left the clothing and the hair from the original scene I created, just to show you guys how the hair looked before. This is the look I went for on my render, and of course I'm not gonna be able to recreate exactly this one today. I'm just gonna basically show you my workflow with hair, and then with that you can create any hairstyle that you really want to. But yeah, this is the basis right now. This is what I had created before. I love this sort of like flowy, messy hair. It's kind of like very windy, and then the hair like got messed up. I feel like it gives this very natural vibe that I really like. But you can do whatever you want. I'll show you guys in a second. So first of all, I'm just gonna go ahead and basically delete the hair we have and start from 0. So what would I do now is select the model, which is already selected. So just go ahead and select the Genesis 8 if that's what you imported. If you imported from DAS, it's probably the Genesis 8. So we go into polygon mode here and select this type of selection, live selection here. And now we're gonna divide the head into various areas, and each area we're gonna grow a different hair selection. And this is because we need to have more control over the brushing later on, so we cannot just apply one massive chunk of hair to her head. We have to divide it so we can really like brush and set the hair in place later. So this really depends on the hairstyle you're going for. I'm gonna go for this kind of wavy hair part in the middle like we had before. But again, you can do whatever you want. So I'm gonna start by selecting this half here of the front. And it's literally like a free selection. Like I kind of like brush, not brush, but like paint the head, I guess. And if you want to like keep selecting, you just press Shift, and then you keep like selecting. And if you select too much, like here, for example, you go ahead and select Control or Command, I think, in Mac, and then you can delete the selection. So just I'm pressing Shift right now and selecting everything. And honestly, I kind of like eyeball it because hair is very organic anyway. It's not gonna be perfect, so I don't really strive for perfection here. I just like kind of select, I'm gonna go for 4 segments on the head. So left, right, and back, front. So I feel like this is a good selection. So I'm gonna pull up my menu here. It's in Simulate, then Hair Objects, and then there's this menu here of Add Hair. I'm gonna click here. So we have this tiny window. We can just leave anywhere we want. So I'll just leave it mine here. And I'll click on Add Hair. And you can see we have this like hair explosion here. It's a bit too much, but we don't worry about that right now. So the first selection is here. We just go ahead and hide it, actually. And we do this to every selection. So I'll go ahead and select the model again. Here we see the previous selection we made. So I'll click anywhere else on the scene, so we get rid of the selection. And we're gonna start the second selection now. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the other side in the front, like that. And again, I'm gonna start with the 4 main selections, but I kind of always end up adding more as I brush, just to have this more like natural, messy feeling. But it really depends. It's a very organic sort of thing here. There's not like a right or wrong. It just depends on your scene. Okay, so let me continue. Pressing Shift now to select the rest. I'm gonna try to have a more clean middle like middle part here. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, this seems good enough. Now I'll just go ahead and click on Add Hair. And there we have our second selection. Again, just hide it for now. We don't need it yet. Reselect the model. And now we go for the back. So just gonna do the left back selection now. Just paint it like that. Oh, I forgot to select Shift. Now we lost the previous selection, but it's fine. So just go ahead and keep selecting with Shift. And just careful to not select like the ear or like too much of the neck, because it might look a bit weird if like hair is growing from her ear, right? So just gotta be careful with this sort of stuff. If we miss any spots, which usually I do, to be honest, we need to just go back and kind of finesse the selection a little bit more, but we're just gonna hope that we get a good result right away. We'll see. Adding hair, and now we're gonna go for the last main selection, which is gonna be this side here. So just paint. Again with Shift, so we don't lose what we selected. Okay. Maybe a little bit more to the front here. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I missed some spots, but it's okay. Alright, so now we have the 4 hair selections, and then I'm gonna reactivate all of them. And it's gonna look really weird at first. So what I will usually do, I'll just think of the length of the hair that I want. For this one, it's not gonna be super long, but also not super short, so maybe a little bit longer than shoulder length. So I will select all the selections here. I just select one, press Shift, and then select the other one there. And you can see the standard hair is like 50,000 segments, or like 50,000 hairs per like selection, which is a bit too much. So I will usually start with 5,000 in each, just because it's like easier to render, so I can like kind of see in real time how it's looking. I'll start low, like 5,000, and by the time I'm rendering the scene out, I'll probably put like 10,000 here, but it depends on how big the selection is, sometimes more, sometimes less. And straight away, I will also put more segments here. So right now we just have like 12 segments, which is basically like from the top of her head to the tip of the hair. It's like 12 segments on each hair, which is not enough to create a very like organic and natural feel. So I'll go ahead and add like probably 30 at least for now. And again, I'll come back to the settings once we get to the more finalized version. Also, the guides, I'll probably put like 20 segments, so it's like easier to brush. And here we can go ahead and put the length that we want. So maybe 40 looks good. Okay, so the second thing I'll do is work on the hair material, because this doesn't really look like hair right now. So as you can see here, we have like 4 new hair materials, but we actually just need one. We need one hair material for the whole head, because it's the same hair, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete the 3 of them and just leave one. And this one here, we're gonna put on every hair we created. So here they are. And now we can go ahead and change the material a little bit. So I will usually change the thickness to like 0.01, which is like very low, but it gives this more like natural hair look. We can maybe go even a bit lower. And for the tip, I like to go with 0. So it gives this like fading effect. So when it reaches the extreme of the hair, it is like, yeah, just like 0. And now to the root, I think we can go with 0.2 maybe, just to get started, because it's a bit like not enough hair, you know. So yeah, this looks a bit better. Okay, so enough of the hair material for now. We can go ahead and start brushing this. So for brushing, we go to Simulate, Hair Tools, and we have this menu here with all the things you can do to the hair. Also, I'm gonna click here, and we have this tiny window, which I always kind of leave here in my side. And also, we need another window, which is called Hair Mode. I usually work with guides, which is actually already here. It will usually come up with the tip one, which means that if you select the brush tool and you brush, you can only move the tip of the hair, which can be useful sometimes, but I will go with the guides, which gives you way more control. Like, I have the feeling I'm actually like brushing the hair when I do it. So I basically just use the guides here. I don't really use the other ones. So we're just gonna go ahead and brush the hair to the side like that. You just put the hair down. We're like mapping out the hairstyle now, and it doesn't need to be anything perfect. Just gonna put the hair down like that. Okay, we can already see like we have way too few hairs. It's not enough for the scene. So we will probably go ahead and add more before we even do other stuff. So I'll select all the hairs, go to hairs here, and instead of 5,000, we can attempt 10,000. Oops. Again. My only concern is that the scene will be a bit too heavy if we have that amount of hair. So if it is too heavy, we just go back and dial this down a little bit. So when we have one of the hairs selected, you see it's like blue, and the only one you can brush is the one that you have selected. So the other ones will just like stay in place, and we just move this segment here, which is pretty good. It gives more control. So now is like the tedious process begins, or fun process, it depends. Because brushing hair can take a long time. It's not that easy. It really depends on what you're going for, but to get the very natural look, you have to brush this and manually put hair in place. So it really isn't that quick to make. I'll show you guys the best that I can today, but just a disclaimer, you can brush for hours and until you are like satisfied with the look that you have. But we'll go ahead and do a pretty simple hairstyle today. So as you can see here, this part is like kind of inside the head. So we're gonna try and brush that out of the head because that will look like a bald spot. Yeah, exactly. So you just kind of pull the hair out of the head. If that doesn't really work, we can use another tool, which is called the push tool here. So we just select the push tool. I'll usually put this like here, something like this, and the distance, I don't know, like 3, and click apply, and it will usually like push the hair out of the head as well. This can take a while to work. It's a bit heavy. But either way, I can already see I kind of like missed some parts here at the top of the head, which is like, it translates as like this bald spot. So we definitely need to pay attention to this a little bit later. So probably just recreate some, not recreate, but like add more segments here. The push tool didn't really do much here because I think the issue is that I really didn't select properly here at the top, but it's okay. We're just gonna go and focus on the front of the hair for now, which is basically the most important. It's like how we're gonna probably render this out. So we can also put a camera here, for example, and just lock this view in. So when we move around our character here, we it doesn't move there. Oh, except it does, but wait. So just for the sake of like rendering a bit faster, I'll go ahead and type like 80. No, sorry, I'll like, we had 10,000, so maybe like 7,000. Not one, like maybe 7,000, it's okay. And also, yeah, no, it's okay for now. So I will usually like brush and then when I want to like change things up, I'll go ahead and change the material. If I don't want to change the material, I keep brushing. So there's like lots of things you can keep doing. I don't do one thing and then move to the other. Like I work on basically everything at the same time until you get the look that you want. So I'll just try to position the hair in like a better way here. Again, it can take really long for you to find the hair pose that you actually want. But once we have the basic hairstyle down, we can jump into the material once again. So we want to also like try to mix in the selections in each other, so they're not like separate, right? Because they're supposed to be like the same hair all together. We're not like we don't have separate selections in real life, you know? So that's what I'm trying to do here. Also, I think here at the front, we can pull this hair up again. It's kind of getting into her skull, which is not a good look. This looks a bit better. This is still kind of not the way I want. We maybe brush a little bit more here, the back, so we can cover this spot here that we have. Also, we can see here that the hair is intersecting with her her body, which we don't want, so we have to avoid that by just like basically brushing that out of her body again, like that. Also then selecting this one now. And it looks very long, but because the hair will end into like 0 basically. So what I mean by that is in the material, the thickness will end in 0. It doesn't look as long as it looks here. So if you wanna have actual long hair like this here, you have to put maybe the hair until like here, for example. So when it fades out, you have the hair, like the appearance will be here, if that makes sense. So maybe we can jump into the material now, again. Double click. So one thing I don't really like here is the specular of the hair. It always gives this like kind of grayish look when you first load the material, even though the color is actually brown. So I just like reduce all the specular like that, and again it's just like eyeballing. Then after you can go and adjust the settings as you want to get the specific look, but we can go ahead and just put a color here like blue and purple like we had before. So this is really fun. You can play around with all sorts of settings here. Maybe you can put a gradient like I did, or you just put one color. It's up to you. I like to go a little bit crazy with the colors. It's really fun. I love colorful hair. So I'll leave like pink maybe. Maybe it's a bit extreme like that, so we put not so bright pink like this pink. This is okay. Oh, okay, so next thing is you can see here there are like lots of settings, and again they're kind of hard to explain. You just need to like try out and see what they do. The settings I go for normally are the kink, the clump, and wave, but also some other ones. So I think the most important one is clump, actually, which like brings the hair into like small chunks like that. I just checked it in. You can already see like it gives a way more like natural look to the hair, especially like at the bottom here. So I'll go and like tweak the graphic a little bit so it starts a bit earlier and not just at the bottom of the head. And this is just literally like testing out. I'll go with like 40, maybe here 30. Okay, this is a bit too much, so maybe I'll again like 10. It's a good number. Yeah, maybe that's also a bit extreme. So reduce it here. Then we have wave. Wave, as in like the name says, it gives like waves to the hair. We can reduce the amount so it's not that extreme. Also just go to the clump again and probably put like 20%. We don't want it to look this extreme. Okay, this is looking good. Okay, now the hair color just changed in like one of the hairs, which is kind of confusing to me. So I'm not sure what happened. Let me just check. Okay, now we're back. I just needed to delete that for some reason. Never mind. So here we are. Now we can just like keep brushing it and try to just really get a more like natural result. We'll go ahead and change more stuff in a bit. But I like to do like a bit of both here. So brushing and then going to the hair material and then brushing again. So what I will do for the hair to look a bit more messy is, it is basically like brushed straight here. So maybe I'll show you with this part here, you can see better. It's basically like straight. So I will go ahead and like pull that up to create kind of like waves. You can see it's like very like messy. And just wait until it uploads. Here, you can see this wave here. It's a more, yeah, messy look, which I really like. So that's what I do. You can brush some more like to the outside, so they're like floating in the wind. And maybe go to this side right now. Also brush more like that. Again, you can really tell I like windy hair. This may be a bit too much, then we just go down again. So yeah, again, it really depends also on the pose that you're going for. If you're going for a frontal render, the back really doesn't matter that much. So remember how we kind of messed up here at the top of her head. It doesn't really matter if you really want to have just like a portrait like that, for example. So you could just like literally stop like this. And don't really fix the back. Which is basically what we're gonna do, but if you really want to fix it, you can go ahead and do it as well. So I'll try to just put some of the hair in the back here. Like, just gonna make it show a little bit more because I feel like it's kind of hidden. Yeah, this is looking better. Very like natural and flowy. One thing I would do is, you can really see here in the here at the top of her head that we don't have enough segments. I don't know if you can tell, but you can really see, like if you zoom in, that they are, it's like a very big segment, like it's not very smooth. So we really need to, especially when we're rendering this out, we really need to add more segments. So now we have like 30. Normally I'll go with like 100 actually when I render out. For now we can go like 70 maybe. I don't want to put too many. And hopefully it will like smooth it out and look a bit more natural. Yeah, you can see now it's like just like a curve. We don't really see the individual segments, which is good. Oops. Yeah. Brushing this a little bit more here to the front. So we can just try some other hair settings here on the material. Like the kink, for example. The kink is kind of like a... so it's not like a frizz because we also have the frizz, but yeah, you can see in a second it will like make it very frizzy, like that. Which is very extreme right now, but if we add just a little bit, it also adds this kind of just like more realism to the hair overall. So maybe like 12%. And you can start some like you can see some hairs are like starting to show like individually here, and I feel like this gives an overall more yeah, more realistic and cool look. Again, so many other segments, maybe with the twist, but I don't want to go too crazy with the settings today. It's just supposed to be in the basics. But yeah, oh, if you really want to like make it very flowy, you can definitely use the twist. So maybe we can use like also kind of like 10% maybe. Yeah, 8 sounds good. So just a little bit. They build on top of each other and each adds a little bit more of like a realism. So we do have not enough hair, I would say. So right now, before we finish, I'll go ahead and add like, again, probably 12,000 to each segment. So we really do have like a full face of, full head of hair. Yeah, you can really see now how fuller this is. So let me go back to the object mode. And yes, that is like the basics of hair in Cinema 4D. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start the next part of the presentation. Alright, so for the next part, I'm just gonna show you guys kind of a quick tip to clone grass and flowers into a plane. So like to make this field of grass that we have in the scene. This is going to be specific for Redshift. So if you use Redshift, you can definitely check this technique out. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and open a new scene, so completely new, and we will create a plane, which is going to be the floor or the ground where we will place all our plants. So let me just, yeah, make this a bit bigger. Cool. So I will be using Forester, but you can use any plants that you want, I guess. I'll just start with this long grass here. Again, this is more about the technique than the final result, but yeah. So once we have the grass that we want to clone into the plane or scatter, we will create a matrix object. And on this matrix object, we will add the tag Redshift object to it. And then we can switch the particles to custom objects. Now we place the grass. Here we drag the grass or the plant that we want and drop here. And you can see there's a bit too much here. That's because the matrix is set to grid array, but we need to go into the mode here and change it to object mode. And now we have to say here which object we want to scatter that on, which is the plane. So we drag and drop the plane here. And now we see the grass is being cloned onto the plane, but it's kind of like sideways, so we don't want that. And to fix that, we just like need to uncheck the align clone here. And now the grass is like scattered into the surface, like that. So here we can add more or less grass, depending on what you want. So say we want to have like 2 types of grass, like another color maybe to a second one. We can come here and duplicate this. So long grass 1, and maybe just create a random color just to like differentiate both of them. So just give like a yellow color and substitute here. And now we have to feed that plant into the Redshift object tag again. So again, we have the long grass 1, or long grass, and then we put the long grass 1 here as well. So it also is like being cloned there. And then we can also change the seed here. So if you don't like the way it looks, you just keep choosing like a better disposition to the objects. And yeah, you can like give it more or less. You can do a full field, that's a bit too much maybe, but yeah. And what I will usually do, I'll create multiple matrices. So I will, we can go and duplicate this one maybe, and we can create like a flower, for example. So go here and create like just a taller plant, for example this one. And then here in the object we delete these previous that we had, and we add the new flower. And because this is a copy of the matrix, it's gonna be exactly on the same position as the grass, but with the flowers I usually add way less than the grass, so we can just reduce the count here and change the seed, and probably just a few, so it is more like just natural and yeah, just like more believable, I guess. And you can play with the seed here more like that. So you find something that you're like happy with. Again, this is just to show you the technique. You normally would do this in a like not a flat plane like this, probably like a landscape or something like that. But that is the technique, and this is the result that I got with it. 1 second, it's gonna load. Yeah, and then with lighting and layering with more elements, you can get a similar result to this one. Okay, I think that's it for the quick tip. I'll move on to the next segment. Okay, so another quick tip I wanted to show you guys, it's about the background and lighting of the scene. We're gonna be using the same scene here that I showed the other parts, but will be about just how I created the background and the lighting of the scene. So maybe if you're starting out, you didn't really know how to do it, so I'll just show you. So the first things first, the background. As you can see, it's just literally a plane with a texture. And if I zoom in the camera here, if we get into the camera angle, it doesn't look like it's a plane because, you know, the edges are just cut out of the frame. But if we zoom out, we can really see the difference. So the lighting doesn't really have much to do with the background, really. I mean, I try to match the background with the lighting of the scene. In this case, it is very like pastel vibe, you know, with very pinkish and like sunsetty lighting, but it's not exactly this background. And the lighting, how I did it, it's in Redshift it's called dome light. So what a dome light is basically a giant sphere that like it's around your scene, and then it lights the scene from all angles, like an environment would be. So this one that we have here, I can show you. Here is the picture of the lighting. It's called Hdri, and it's just like a 360-degree photo of the sky and the sunset. So I'll just demonstrate how different the scene can look if you just change the Hdri, for example. So we have Dome Light 1. I'll just, first of all, get rid of it. So this is the scene without the Hdri, which is completely different. It's very dark. This has just some normal like area lights. I won't go into that right now. I'll just mostly show you the Hdri, but you can see the difference that it makes, right? The background is like just dark, right? It doesn't have any lighting. So if we turn it on again, like you can really see, especially like here, the grass and the hair, like they look just way better. So definitely, I always use the dome light on my scenes for basically everything. Maybe if it's like a very, very dark scene and you really want to have like a dramatic spotlight effect, I wouldn't use it. Otherwise, I will always use the dome light. So for example, another dome light we could use is this one. This is just a picture of a studio, so it's not really outside like the other one. And you can see the vibe is really completely different. It's mostly like very bright. And I don't think it would suit this scene very well if we compare with the other one. So you can really have any sort of image for the Hdri, depending on the look you're going for. And if you don't have redshift, what you can do is create the same Hdri effect with a sky. So, okay, let me just demonstrate to you guys real quick. So this is again without anything as the Hdri. And then we would go here and select the sky. And then we can create a material. For example, the same one as the plane. We can do that. Here we just put a texture. You can put whatever texture you want. I have this sunset here, or like the sky texture. And then I put this on the luminance channel. So it like basically illuminates the scene better. And this material is very simple. We just drag and drop into the sky. And now we have a Hdri as well. I mean, it's just a simple texture. It's not a very, like a very advanced texture, or like very, how can I say this? Just, yeah, just it's a very simple texture, right? It's just like a square picture, but it doesn't really matter because we just want to get the colors and the illumination coming from all angles, like a actual sky would illuminate the scene. So if we put this character back into the camera, we do have illumination, but this one is not bright enough. So if we go back to our previous one, we can see like the difference that it makes. So yeah, that was it for the segment. It's really quick. I just wanted to show you how I work with the dome lights and what I do for my background. So there you go, on to the next segment. So for the last segment of today's presentation, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my journey with daily renders. So this is just my project with all the 400 daily renders. I mean, you can't see all of them, but I just selected like kind of my favorite ones. I did this like small video here with all of them, but they're a bit fast, so I'll just move on and show you guys some of the ones I selected. But the most important thing here is just I wanted to highlight to you guys, maybe if you're like starting out learning cinema, it really is super helpful to do daily renders. And I wanted to maybe like motivate you, like if you're on the fence, you didn't know if you should start it or not, I would say just try it out, seriously. these were all made in like one day. Like each day I just made a small new project, and through that I really learned like so many different techniques, and I tried so many different styles. Like I did some like kind of interior design, I guess, and then also, you know, more like character as well, but way more simple back then than what I do now. But yeah, it just like, because you do a little project every day, you can learn a little bit every day as well. So it kind of piles up. Like if you look back 1 or 2 months in your daily renders, you can really see how fast you improve. So especially if you're just starting out, I feel like this is such a like nice and fun way to learn fast and learn new techniques. So maybe if you're doing daily renders and you don't know what to do, I would just like look up a tutorial and just follow along for the day, and just do that as my daily render, which is also awesome because there are so many great tutorials out there. So if you're not feeling like super creative that day, you just like follow a tutorial and you still learn a lot of new skills. So you can do that. And it's so fun to like try new styles because it is just one day, so you don't really need to commit to a whole project. In maybe you're not sure if you really like that style, or yeah, so it is just a great opportunity to explore, right, until you find your style. I would say I'm still finding my style, but I definitely tried various things, like you know, more like flowers, and then I did some modeling here. These are some tutorials I are like what is the name? Time-lapse that I have on YouTube. Also something completely different, like mountains. Yeah, so again, this is just a small push if you wanna like start your daily render journey. Again, I did 400 and then I decided to stop because I felt like I really needed more time to develop each project, but I would not have learned so much and so fast if I didn't have done daily renders. So I totally recommend you do that. I mean, you guys probably know like Beeple is like the main figure on like daily renders. He still does it, but I don't know, I suggest like you also try it out. Maybe it's not for you, maybe you won't do it like 13 years like him or 400 days like me, but if you do a month or 2 months, I feel like you also can learn just so much. So that is my small take on daily renders. Yeah, they were really helpful. Okay, so that's it for this segment. I'll move to the next one. Okay, so that was the end of my presentation for today. Thank you so much again for inviting me to be here today. It's really super exciting. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to write them in the comments. I'll be right now live answering them as best as I can. If you see this later and still want to get in touch with me, you can find me on basically every social media by Brunaaart, or my full name, which is Bruna Vasconcelos. I also stream on Twitch twice a week, so feel free to also jump into my live stream. There you can just like talk to me live, ask me stuff about Cinema 4D or just 3D life in general. I love to just like meet new people, interact there. And yes, again, hope you enjoyed my presentation. Hope you could learn a little bit of something new today. And I wish you guys a good day and see you in a second to answer the questions.